So Justin Shaifer, Mr. Fascinate.
That is what some people call me.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
It is. It's nice to see you again. It's nice to talk to you.
Been a long time.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, today I think that we should delve a little bit into our past and experiences in
like a lore.
education, the lore. Yeah.
Okay.
The lore of Justin, the lore of
Dakotah.
Dr. Dakotah Tyler,
Doctor.
PhD, astrophysics, exoplaneteer extraordinaire, research expert, science communicator.
And Justin.
And Justin.
Yeah.
And Justin.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a question that I feel like I get asked quite often that I feel like I always have to repeat, and I think it would be nice to have sort of on record, is how I got into astrophysics.
Yeah.
Because it seems like an unusual thing, I think, at the surface. It's not something that you hear about all the time.
Yeah, I've heard some things about your origin story. Like, I know you used to play football, right? Got an injury, right? But I feel like there's a lot more to the story that people don't know about.
Yeah. There definitely is. One of the things that I talk about all the time, you watch my content, it is the importance and, in my opinion, necessity of finding something that you feel purposeful about, that you feel like aligned in, that you feel curious about. And that's like kind of something that we need in terms of happiness, whatever that means. And for me, it's science, it's space, it's making stuff like this, creating things, working on my ideas, growing as a person. And I think that something else that I haven't really talked about that much is how so much of this for me was driven from effectively what was like a deep depression.
Oh, word.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I played, when I figured out I wasn't going to be able to play football anymore, that obviously made me very depressed.
Right. So this was like, walk me through this, like your mindset, right? Because you had just gotten an injury, right? Mm-hmm. And did you like think you might recover from it, or like
100%? This was not like an on-off switch. I tore my ACL and meniscus. These are injuries that people come back from all the time. Nowadays, most people come back before a year even, and are like maybe playing again in the next season. But when I tore my ACL, this was like over a decade ago. So I think that there were still good techniques and standard practices then, but during my rehab, I was injuring it in different ways. And it was this long period of time where eventually I did realize that I wasn't going to be able to do this. And I'm slow to give up. That's one thing about me. I don't give up.
I peeped that.
Yeah, right? Like, I'm not going to give up. I can tell you that the reason why I was able to go from ground zero to getting a PhD is because I didn't stop. I made so many friends and colleagues along the way that had the same goals as me at each stage that like fell off for this reason or that reason. Sometimes very good reasons. Life happens. There are things you can't control. But for me, it's like I'm just not going to give up.
But hold on, you were depressed though. Like, I really want to understand that experience too. Like, I feel like, because you don't, like, most people like are immobilized by depression.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very familiar with that. I'm very familiar with that. And a part of what I think I knew about myself, the awareness that I had about myself, was that I was going to feel like that if I didn't have something that I loved to strive for and to aim at. And I think to some degree that a lot of people experience that. Like it's at some point, a midlife crisis is maybe the realization that you're like on a path, maybe like a corporate ladder path or something like that. And you're like, for what? Like, every time I get promoted, I don't really feel any better. It doesn't really feel like this is aligned with what I like. And I think early on, I just wanted to do something that was going to help me not feel like that. And I feared, it was a deep fear that I would just always be that depressed if I didn't figure out what that thing was for me. And so to me, it was worth it to sacrifice all of the time, money, resources. Mental health, like going through grad school can be a little bit brutal.
So, but okay, because you decided, so you were in undergrad, you didn't go straight to grad school after, right?
After I played football?
Yeah.
Oh, no. So it's kind of funny. And I think that this story is illustrative of how my brain works and like how I like move into action. So I started watching these astronomy documentaries. The idea happened upon me. Oh, I could just be an astrophysicist. Okay, but how do you do that? ChatGPT doesn't exist. So I had to go the old school route, Google.
What year was this? You remember? Like,
I graduated in
90. Oh, sorry.
What? How old do you think I am? How old are you? We're the same age.
Well,
Spiritually, you're actually like 45 or 50. You're like approaching boomer,
but like
Gen X.
biologically.
Biologically, we're very close. Our years could hold hands if our birth years. I was born in 1990. I'm a 90s baby. You must have been born in 94.
Yeah, but that's 4 years. I mean, you were a senior in high school and I was in 8th grade.
Yeah, that's great, quick math. Good job.
That's some time, man.
Yeah.
So it was the 90s and you had this
It was the 90s. That's when I was born, but that's not when any of this happened.
Oh, okay. So it's undergrad. Okay.
Yeah.
So we're in undergrad. This happens, and then you're watching documentaries. And what year was this? 2000 and
Like 2012, 2013,
Gotcha,
something like that.
okay.
Maybe 2014. And yeah, so I just Google, how do you become an astrophysicist? And it's like, I think maybe a Reddit thread came up or something. And it was like, okay, you need to go to grad school. And I know that grad school comes after undergrad. I have no concept of the path in academia. I don't know anybody who's done it. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, I didn't know that.
I'm coming at this completely
So
fresh.
you didn't even have no like science. homies
Nobody.
at
I
the
had
time?
like no role model to ever follow in this direction.
Dang, that's different.
And so I Googled it, and it says that you need to get a PhD, and it's like, okay, that's grad school, so I need to go to undergrad. Well, I just finished undergrad. I got a degree in community and leadership development with like a 2.4 GPA. You know, I did make the honor roll my last semester there.
That's what the 0.4. That's how the 0.4.
That's where I got that extra. That's where I got the extra 0.4 from.
All right.
And I picked up the phone and called up a grad physics department and was like, hey, I'm interested in doing a PhD in physics. Like, how do I get into the program? And the guy answered, he was like a Russian guy. Ironically, this was the grad program of the undergrad that I would ultimately go to get my degree in physics. And he was like, well, you need the multiple years of calculus and physics, never taken.
It's pretty good Russian accent.
Calculus. Was that good?
That's pretty solid.
Yeah. I'm like very masterful with the skills. Like bam, bam, bam. I've never done a Russian accent before. That was just
Wow.
yeah,
Many
creative
talents as an
process.
astrophysicist. Yeah.
So he says that you need like multiple years of this, and then like okay, I don't have any of that. And then I kind of pieced together that I need to go to undergrad first. And then I contact an undergrad department in physics, and they're like, yeah, well, you kind of need like some base classes before we can really accept you into this program. So then I realized I was gonna have to go to community college first. So now you're doing the math. It's like 5-6 years of grad school, 3-4 years of undergrad. And then on top of that, I'm gonna have to go to community college for a couple years to start it all off because I don't know how to do algebra. Like I probably had a 7th or 8th grade math skill set.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is going to be 10 years. But like I said, I'm not like the type of person, I feel like I'm I'm a vision person, right? I kind of believed in myself. I didn't think I was smart, but I know that I can work hard. And so I thought that I could just like brute force and learn these things.
Astrophysics. You could brute force astrophysics.
And to some extent, that is exactly right because practice is this like brute force repetition, right? And obviously, hopefully you become more efficient as a learner as time goes on. But I realized that if I just like practice these problems incessantly, I started to learn the rules. They became easier. And then math becomes trivial. It's a matter of following steps, right? And this is any skill set. And so, you know, this fear that I wasn't smart enough, I know that I think that a lot of athletes have it because so early on, or really if you're good at anything early on, you sort of get this inflated sense of a successful path without having to like struggle necessarily to develop other areas, right? And so like I'll say specifically as an athlete, everybody loves you and it seems like there's an easy and a clear-cut path to success, and it doesn't really require you learning math or honestly, even developing as a good person. Like you can make it to the top and be a horrible person. People do that all the time, you know, if you're good enough. But over time, I was able to like get better at these things, and I still like really struggled with feeling depressed throughout the way because where I was at was so far from where I wanted to go. Now, when I wake up every morning, it's like I really am interested in thinking about if life is on this planet. Maybe I could put in a proposal and study it. This is exciting to me. Talking to you, meeting people like you, other experts in other fields, and like growing my mindset, very exciting. But for the vast majority of this journey, that was not the case.
Yeah.
And so it was always like very important for me to be able to like check in with myself and like place how I'm feeling with what direction that I want to go in, and like, am I getting there? And then there's always these feelings of like, this is like really hard. Can I do it? And you don't have a lot of cheerleaders. Like I get tons and tons of positive support now, especially like, I don't know, you go when you make a post talking about, oh, hey, I just graduated, I got my PhD. Everybody's like, oh, that's awesome. Thanks. You get like a lot of support, a lot of fans, like that sort of thing.
Hundreds of thousands of people.
Right?
Yeah.
But that's like not really when you need to hear something like that. When you really want to hear something like that is when you're not getting it at all. And in fact, probably the people who are closest to you, or I'll use myself, the people who are closest to me are like, what is it? You know, like, what are you doing? You're wasting your time. You're kind of going down a route that other people don't go down. You know, most people are trying to just go in some direction and quickly get a job where they can make a good amount of money, or, you know, whatever the case is. And so I think for me, it's like really vindicating. And the reason that I try to harp on the importance of having a long-term mindset to like build towards your goals is because that what comes with that is a fulfilling gratification that's very delayed, that cannot be approximated in viral culture. You will not like anything that is fleeting is fleeting. It comes quickly, you know, it goes quickly. You don't want to like live or die by the attention that you're getting from other people, but it takes a long time to build things that are long lasting.
But dude, 10 years is crazy, man. Like,
I know.
I feel like there's got to be people like discouraging you from this the whole time. Like, you can't.
Yeah,
no
you know that it's funny that you say that. The discouragement, I think, comes in funny ways. I remember when I first made the decision that I was going to go back to school, become an astronomer, I was visiting my high school football coach. So it was after I graduated from Kentucky, but before I started community college. And it was like a practice or whatever, you know, we were catching up. And I told him what I was going to do. And I said, I'm going to start going to Ivy Tech. This is a community college back in my home city, Indianapolis. And I never, ever will forget what he said to me in that moment. It was like so you're going back to Ivy Tech Community College. And then kind of like a look of bewilderment, but a tone of like, what are you talking about? Mm-hmm. And never will forget. We'll never forget it. When I passed my comprehensive exam and got my master's, which was 2 years ago. So I recently graduated and defended my PhD. But before that, I got my master's. And I made a tweet about it that went viral. And he like responded to it. And he was like, oh, man, congratulations. I'm so proud of you. And I doubt that he even remembers what he said to me.
All right.
Right? And for me, that's really, really, really important. Because the things that people say to us, especially when we're in like a fragile, a vulnerable, an unbuilt state, can be highly influential and highly effective. That thing that he said to me meant absolutely nothing to him. It was a quick thought that he had. He didn't know me to be some like, you know, dedicated academic or anything like that. So he's like, what are you talking about?
All right.
Right? And I just imagine if like the accumulation of comments and sentiments that were thrown my way over the years like that, if I would have let them build up, waver me in my steadfastness or whatever, knock me off kind of my path, then I wouldn't have made it to this point.
But it sounds like it did affect you because you didn't forget it.
I didn't forget it. I'll never forget it. And honestly, I don't really forget. I think I don't forget negative things that are said or thrown my way from people that are meaningful to me in some way.
So you valued his opinion at the time?
No, not at all. I just know he said that and will never forget it. I didn't value his opinion then.
I mean, is that like, it sounds like the kind of like the Michael Jordan thing from The Last Dance of like, this guy doesn't think I can do.
I mean, I have that. I have that. I think that that's I don't know. That's probably like a feature. I know you have it too. I wonder where that comes from. I wonder if that's like genetic or if it's like born through trauma or something. But it's like this, yeah. You kind of like want to prove people wrong.
Yeah, and it's not even like I'm thinking about that guy. Like it's them.
It's a force. Yes, it's like this imaginary force, and that was the takeaway in The Last Dance, right? People didn't hate Michael Jordan. Like, he's one of the most beloved basketball players of all time. Yeah, he had his naysayers, whatever. But in his head, it's like this. You almost psych yourself out and delude yourself to build this enemy that you can overcome by like executing, by finding the motivation on the days when you're tired, when you're depressed, etc. And there's like this imaginary, I feel like we talk about this all the time. As humans, we have the ability to completely fabricate stories and narratives. And that like drives all of human society, from money to countries to ideologies, philosophy, whatever. And a part of it's a really weird way to think of it. And I've never thought about it like this, but I do think that a part of my personal philosophy is like they don't want to see me rise up in this way. And in my path, it's been kind of explicit because people in my background typically don't say, with no academic background whatsoever, yeah, for the next 10 years, I'm gonna hop on this academic track along all the other people who've been on this track since they were born and went to private schools and got tutors and all of this. And each step of the way, people will meet me and they think it's cool that I play football. But then when I start to take the next step, if they feel like they aren't taking it too, somehow I start feeling animosity and I feel like they think that they deserve more because they're smarter than me, for example. Or like in my undergrad, I was very strategic and worked very hard to position myself as a competitive grad student. That took many years of planning. It took me doing many additional steps. And a lot of the other people didn't do those things. And I think it's weird for me to develop a close like friendship or relationship with somebody and then feel like, because my hard work is literally paying off, now you like feel some type of way about me, or you don't like me, or you think I didn't earn this, or you think I don't deserve this.
I was gonna say if you had that experience, or ask if you had
100%.
Like haters.
It's happened it happened in community college. It happened in undergrad. It's happened in grad school.
You know what's interesting, man? Like I'm reflecting on this because I feel like I was a part of your journey to an extent. Like,
you're the main part, bro. I couldn't have did it without you.
Well, yeah, I knew.
No,
I knew
I'm
that.
just.
Okay.
I'm serious, bro. I couldn't have did it without you.
No, man, but like I remember, I remember when we first met, man, and it was like, like I feel like, we're both from the Midwest, and we're like, it was at the Science Communicator meetup, right?
From Chicago, right?
Yeah, I'm from Chicago. Yeah. But Moya introduced us at the SciComm meetup in LA.
Yeah.
And I was like, yeah, like I felt like we had a similar energy that was like I'm not pressed, but I'm working on something. And I feel like I got that vibe from you then.
You played it cool. You've been courting me for the past couple years.
Well, I mean,
I'm not gonna
after
show
that,
him
we
I'm
ended
too
up
interested in a friendship.
After that, we ended up working together for quite a while,
Yeah.
man. But no, I think I don't know if I'd call it courtship so as much as I would alignment.
I agree.
And I feel like, but what I was actually gonna say is because it really felt like it was me getting a PhD in astrophysics when you got it. Like, and I don't know, like I feel like you probably got that energy from me too of like just like celebrating you. You know what I mean? And it was like I feel like I was celebrating you pretty hard. Which I think
You didn't take me out to dinner or anything.
I mean, I can.
All
we
right.
can talk about it offline.
Yeah. All right. This weekend.
Well, I got a busy
Boa
schedule,
Steakhouse
man. I got
on
a busy,
Saturday
I got
night?
a busy schedule.
Oh, okay.
Man.
All right,
Figure it out. But no, like I think it's so interesting because it really did feel like, again, you being from a similar place, us having like shared values about certain things. I'm like, that felt like me walking across that stage. I'm like, and so, and even like when I was thinking about how, remember I texted you after like you defended your dissertation because I was on the virtual call. And I'm like, yeah, man, like if you want to take a little break, like I understand because like you probably got your family and, all the graduation stuff. And at the exact same time, like I don't remember if you remember this, like we both sent the messages and at the exact same time you sent me like what time you free this week.
Yeah.
And I was like, and we were talking about the idea of doing this.
Yeah.
And so I was like, man, that's probably something I would do. Like this guy, I was like, this guy is crazy, but he's like the same type of crazy that I am.
Yeah.
And I feel like there's like a Goku Vegeta-ism that we're having here. That's what it sometimes feels like. It's like two Saiyans, you know what I mean? That are just kind of like pushing each other. And
Yeah.
we talk about like excelling to the heights of greatness intellectually. Like I actually really do align with your philosophy of like it's not exactly your words, but it's almost like you're brute forcing intellectualism. Like you're almost like treating it like a gym, like a workout. Like we've talked a lot about how Neil deGrasse Tyson and his wife, like they would train with like flashcards at night. So when he would describe a concept extemporaneously on stage, it would just sound so magical because he had practiced at night. Right. And it's like you think that this guy's just super talented, and he probably is by default, but he's also like getting reps in. And, you know, I like that's like something that we also kind of share, like this idea of working on yourself and fitness. But it's definitely not something I always had either, man. Like I have my own kind of lore in that regard, too.
Yeah, yeah. Nah, that totally resonates, and it's like that. Like perhaps that's why I like science so much, in the process of like objectively critiquing an idea, is because of it's like that's such a good way to improve.
Yeah.
Right. And as an individual, that requires like some level of, I don't want to say callousness, but resilience and separation from like what it means to be you, and like how to improve, and like that it's okay that however you are isn't perfect, and that you can get better, and like not letting that like hurt you, and not letting that like tear you down or slow you down or rob you of your momentum. But just accept that, yes, at all times you can get better. Like you can literally get better. And this reminds me, I don't want to like derail the direction that you were going in, but I'm about to.
No, go ahead.
So, yeah, but I don't want to. I wanted everybody to know that I don't want to do that. So I made a post the other day. I was taking. I spoke at my commencement. UCLA asked me at the physics and astronomy commencement to give a speech. Some of the, like a PhD student, a master's student, and a bachelor's student that graduate all speak, about like a typical commencement speech. Mm-hmm. And I was looking at the pictures of them the other day, and it's me up there. And anytime I give a speech, I'm going to toss like a couple little jokes in there and just like, be myself and have fun. And that moment for me, it was like really a culmination of all these years of hard work and all these years of like believing in myself and working hard towards this goal. And what I always try to tell people in any ways that I can, whether it's through my content or if I'm just like riffing on some personal thoughts, is that you can brute force your way, if you don't give up, into the life that you want. Like there's this clip that I love of Marshawn Lynch when they're asking him like beast mode, which is what they call him. How do you explain your physicality? Oftentimes it looks like he's looking to make physical contact. A lot of players don't do that. A lot of players, they'll duck away, they'll shy away, they'll hop out of bounds. In a longevity sense, that's a smart way to do it. And his answer, it's like, it's so simple. And it's that many people cannot keep coming back over and over and over. And if you're looking for that physical contact, time after time, play after play after play after play, eventually, usually the other person is going to give up. And, in the context of a football game, maybe that looks like, it's a game of inches and you end up like getting some extra yards or whatever. But it's the same thing in life. Like if you just don't stop. And I mean, if you listen to any like successful business owners or anybody who's like achieved anything, they'll tell you that they like didn't give up. There were times when they felt like they should, where they felt like they had to, it was too hard, and they just didn't. And I had somebody leave a comment on that page that was pointing out that, it's really interesting how people tend to project on me. Sometimes I'll get people, I had a person one time say like, hey man, like you're an athlete, to try and like discredit what I was saying about something else. Word? A lot of times I'll have people tell me to stick in my lane and stick to my field. It's like a weird thing.
Still?
Because it's like, what do you tell this guy that, well, you can't tell him he's like a dumb jock because he's got these 3 letters now. Well, I can tell you to stick to your field, stick to stargazing, is what this person said. And his point was that most people are not in the privileged position that I'm in. And my point is that I started out below everybody. I went to community college, which you can go to if you have $400 and get into classes. And I went through every single step, and I made all the applications. I wrote all the proposals. I did all the research. I did like all of those things. And then to just like look at the end and say, well, you're in a privileged position.
Privileged.
Most people aren't in that privileged position. It's like, you're like, this is the exact defeatist mindset that will never allow you to get to where you want to go to. Right. And it's, I think that it's interesting because oftentimes people, I think I rub people the wrong way. And there's probably a number of reasons for that. I think that I'm also like a black man in a space that's got not very many black men. Like, how many STEM creators are? I feel like we know them all.
Yeah, we know.
We know them all. Like, what?
100% of them.
What field do you know everybody, right? Do you know, like, all the... And I think that causes, like, some people, you know, I'll have other PhD astronomers, like, come at something that I said, but not really have a valid argument, which I appreciate. If somebody's like, if I make a mistake and you're like, you kind of explain this poorly or whatever, and I'll like hear them walk through their critique, and I'll be like, do you just hate me? Are you like hate watching my videos? Because these are not sufficient. These are like not sufficient critiques. I don't need to like get into specific examples. I could, but I think it's kind of weird. Because I feel like the energy that I try to give off is one of like education and inspiration and motivation and believing yourself. And it's hard for me to reconcile how that ignites negativity in other people.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, because we were talking about this offline or off camera. Like, I don't really feel like I get a lot of like hate message. I've gotten stuff, but like, yeah.
You riled up the flat earthers one time.
Riled up the flat earthers, yeah. Like, I made a video about, like flat earthers. I think this was years ago. It was just like around the time when Kyrie Irving was coming out about his theories about it. And I think I made a video about that. And it was like 20 flat earthers went in on me. Yeah. But yeah, for the most part, yeah, like it's interesting. Like, I think I've like somehow cultivated a bubble of positivity. And I don't know if that's a good thing, but
no, I mean, I think it is. And I think that you can do that. And you know, the right audience is kind of attracted. But weirdly, because of the way that social media works, the wrong audience is also attracted, right? Because the ultimate value from a social media sense is how do you know, who's looking at this? And it's going to be the people who are like really, really, really on your side and the people who like really aren't and think that you're the worst person.
Yeah. Yeah. No, man. Yeah, like it feels like once you make a message that reaches us like outside of that inner sphere of people that will like rock with you, or a second degree network that's like, oh, well, I kind of heard of this person. Like, that's pretty cool. Then it gets to that like third or fourth degree network, and people are just like, I hate this guy. I hate astrophysics.
Yeah. Which is it's kind of bizarre. Yeah. So I feel like for me, something that I have very much come to terms with and am very now comfortable with is that I'm going to put like my all into creating stuff, whatever it is, whether it's this show, whether it's a video, and I'm going to do my best to like apply my expertise and put out like a positive message for people and be positively impactful. And I'm going to just be myself. And if that comes across weird or wrong for people, like it is what it is. It is what it is. And that's totally fine. And my question for you, because I know you've had, in many ways, you've had a science, a SciComm STEM platform for a lot longer than me, and kind of like built up really like a strong brand and expertise. And I'm curious how, for you, do you feel like you've like modified yourself or your image, or like how do you experience like what it means to like be a Black STEM creator in this way? Yeah. And do you feel like you have to adapt things and make it like seem a certain like what does that look like? Because I know it's like crazy to try and balance.
Yeah, man. No, I think, you know, my journey into STEM also kind of was unconventional. You know, as a STEM creator, you know, like I had pretty bad grades in high school. Also, most people don't know this, but my Twitter name was actually at What That Booty Do. So I was class clown. I was always trying to see what that booty do, or at least that's what I was advertising at the time. But, you know,
you sound like a cool kid.
Yeah, well, I was a class clown a little bit, you know. And then people would just like, they didn't know me, and they would be like, hey, man, what that booty do? What's up? And they would literally refer to me as this.
He was the booty boy, huh?
Well, I was what that booty
That
do.
booty man, yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, so.
That's cool.
So, you know, I kind of started off as building this brand for myself, right?
Probably. What was the brand?
What That Booty Do, right?
Okay.
I was this funny guy.
What was your ethos?
What
was your mission?
I was a troll. I was on Twitter. I had like a
troll.
shirtless profile picture, and I would just tweet like reckless things, right? Now, all of which have been scraped.
Okay, I was about to say, can we dig those up?
Yeah, good luck rolling the clip on that one. This you and me with that one. Nah, you're not gonna do that. No, but so start off as What That Booty Do. I didn't really think science and all that kind of stuff was cool. And then I went to an HBCU, a historically black college, Hampton. And that's when I kind of flipped everything around. Like, I was like, that was my opportunity to kind of not be a product of my environment. Like, Hampton is a school where being black is not an excuse, Like, you look around and you see people, like the seniors at the time when you're a freshman, single-parent household, all kind of different socioeconomic statuses, levels of income, major in everything, people whose intelligence and intellect will blow you away. And they tell you a story, and it's like, dang, that's exactly how I grew up. And so there's no longer can you have this kind of deficit or victim mentality about how maybe being black in a certain space like STEM makes you less than, right? You like kind of lose that narrative at some point along the journey of matriculation through an HBCU. So, then I got into building like a STEM brand before influencers was even a term. And so this was around like 2017. I was like volunteering in museums, working with kids. I was like calling myself Mr. Interesting. And then I just didn't feel like I had enough swagger to it.
That is a great rebrand from Mr. Booty. What is it?
Well, I learned What That Booty Do. I learned from being What That Booty Do. You always gotta for me, it just felt better to have a persona with things. And actually, this kind of is answering your question too. Is like, it felt like a lot of times the real me wasn't enough. So I'd have to create this persona, this public face that would achieve these goals. What That Booty Do was the cool, troll, funny kid that actually got the kids to laugh.
So cool,
right?
Bro.
I didn't think I was really that funny maybe or that interesting, but this character,
interesting,
right?
Yeah.
And so
it's kind of like like an act.
Yeah, it's a persona. Yeah. And so so you're curating this persona, right? And so Mr. Fascinate was like an evolution of that, right? It's like, okay, what does a young kid today want to see in a science person? They want to be like swaggy and cool, and a lot of these things I was still kind of workshopping in real time. And so but this was like 2017 when influencing and content online wasn't what it is today.
Sure.
Like, obviously, like a big word of the past few years is like authenticity, right? But at that time, you had people using high production setups, nice cameras, and they'd sit in front of the camera and then they'd portray whatever they wanted to portray. So my portrayal was Mr. Fascinate. And it was, I think, like that version of me did very well at that time because that was what the world needed, right? And so I was on stages, done like 200 keynotes like in front of like hundreds of thousands
of people. Yeah, man, you're a great public speaker.
Dude, that's another thing that I actually didn't grow up. Like, I was a shy kid growing up. Like, I was terrified of public speaking, So I
very common. The most common
fear, death is second, right? So
that's crazy to think about.
Yeah, so like most people are more afraid to get in front of a group and speak. Yeah. Or it's like more commonly cited as like a fear.
That's so interesting.
Like when you think of fear, that's what you think of.
Yeah.
And so, but like it's really, it actually is funny because of the similar threads to our stories, because I felt like I had to attack this fear. Like I hated the feeling, the gut-wrenching feeling of like my heart pounding through my chest and like my eyes watering and like my hands feeling clammy and cold. And it's like, I hate this. Like I feel so weak. And like more than like I was bad at public speaking, I hated the feeling of being terrified of it. And so I was like, I'm just gonna attack this thing until I don't feel it anymore. And I just got the reps in. And I think that's like an empowering experience, right? To like you said, like have this like long-term vision, see something through and watch yourself progress. Like by the time I was in high school, I was like the narrator of a play that traveled all over the country. And I like read the morning announcements as a senior, so I like evolved, right? Then I became student body president at Hampton, purely based on my public speaking ability. Like I had no actual leadership skills, but I just sounded presidential. I could like really talk the talk, man. Yeah. So I like leaned into that skill set, and it took me pretty far, man. Got like the Forbes features. Worked with Bill Nye, got to do like shows with Discovery Channel, executive produced PBS shows. But it's definitely like I've always had like for the past 8 years, right? I'm 8 years into my entrepreneurial journey full time. I've pretty much had to eat what I kill. So you have to have you have to cultivate a certain mentality to be this type of person and show up. And, you're depressed at moments. Things don't work perfectly. And so, you have to find ways to kind of like, you have to learn about yourself. You have to introspect. You have to hack yourself, get yourself to do stuff, like find little cheat codes. Like for me, one of my things is when I want to do something, I tell everybody. Like before we did this podcast,
I do it too.
I told everybody, I'm like, yeah, I'm about to start this podcast. I'm going to start this. I told like 20 people. And then so everyone was like, hey man, what's up with that podcast? I'm like, okay, I actually got to do this thing.
Yeah.
You do that too though?
I do it too. Do the same thing with the show. I got I feel like everybody knows people who like want to start a show, who like want to start a podcast, and or like want to do something. And maybe you're like probably like, I'm a curious person, I'm interested. Yeah. So like when people want to create something, I'm like, okay, cool. Like what's the idea behind it? Like and they're like, oh well, I don't really want to jinx it yet. And like talk about it yet before it becomes a thing. And like I do understand that sentiment, but if I was playing psychologist here, I would suspect that maybe that kind of protects you from airing out something that you don't want people to find out about, that you're not going to follow through because you don't really trust that that's going to be. Right. And like I'm not a therapist. I don't know if that's true or not, but I know that from my perspective, when I say that stuff, I feel accountable. Right? Yeah. And it's almost like it's a weird sort of sadomasochism where you're holding your own shame out and you're like wearing a scarlet letter for yourself, but you like haven't pinned it to yourself, but it's like right there. And you know that if you don't do the thing, people are going to be like, I did that when I was doing the exercise challenge. Yeah. When I,
so you were talking
from
about that
day one, I said that I'm going to work out every day for a year. This is how I'm going to challenge myself. Way too ambitious, way too stupid. Not smart.
How many days did you do it for, though?
I went for like 180.
That's crazy.
And I had to stop from like pure exhaustion, fatigue. I was getting sick every day, every week. I would like get a cold. I had strains. It was it was dumb.
But that's how I knew you were crazy enough for us to work together.
But part of the, did I like torture myself?
I was like, oh, okay, this guy, he gets it. This guy gets it.
But like, that's the idea. It's kind of like, because there are days when you wake up and you don't want to do this thing. Yeah. And one thing that I learned early on after being done with sports is that, if you play sports, it's like you're waking up every day, you got practice at 4, you're not sleeping. Like, you're not hitting the snooze and going back to bed. It's not even an option. But when I was done playing sports, it was like, oh, I don't really feel like going to the gym today. And nobody cares. I could just stay here, eat some popcorn, watch a movie, whatever. And then I understood, because it was like, for some reason, I never understood why it was so hard for people to be consistent and to work out until I stopped playing. And I was like, oh, yeah, I had a long, exhausting day. I'm tired. And I think that for me, that was kind of a, like forcing myself to like adhere to this thing that was going to be really hard. And I would have been so proud if I finished it. And I'm like, not really proud for making it halfway, because I don't know. I think that I'm not like usually impressed with myself about things, but I am proud that I tried.
Dude,
and I faced the public shame of not finishing it.
I know no one that's done that many days in a row. So
it's not smart. Like, it's not a smart thing to do.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad the audience knows that. They can hear that.
This is not me advocating for like,
Yeah, and I'm not advocating for it either, even though I was impressed. I was impressed by the 7 day. I can't lie about that.
But nah, man, I do it too, and I'm working on a book, and I tell people about that, and it's coming along, and me and my agent are like, making moves with it. And I think that it's, you kind of said, I don't think about it like this. I think it's a subconscious thing, but you put a name to it, which was like hacking yourself, figuring out the little cheat codes here and there that can like help get you in that direction. Reminds me of this book I read called Atomic Habits.
Love Atomic Habits.
Such a great book,
Habits all the time.
Right? And it's such an interesting approach, because everybody it's like humans are creatures of habit. Mm-hmm. Well, the catch there is that you have habits already.
Right.
And you're going to keep doing them because
unconsciously.
Exactly. Yeah. And so like, how do you rewire those? And it's a difficult thing. And in some ways we're like in battle with our psychology and like a deep evolutionary past that we know nothing about, that has led to us being a certain way. And it's like, how do you change things about yourself? And a lot of it is like changing your environment and putting yourself in the right environment to form new habits, to stop, to like sever the old habits.
And to make stuff easy, right? To
Yeah.
engineer a system or a life that just design of life that makes your process to achieving the goal easier. Literally ran a marathon after reading Atomic Habits. Like that
Really?
was like, yeah, that was what clicked for me. Because I like hated routines. Like I was always an anti-routine type of guy. As like for my first 6 years as an entrepreneur. And then this like clicked at something for me. And I just was like, oh, okay, everything can be turned into a system, not just my business.
I hear you talking about systems a lot. And this reminds me of this like kind of novel, it's not like super well-known approach to psychology called a dynamic systems approach. So I had this great friend that I met when I was an undergrad at Cincinnati who was doing his PhD in psychology. And the department there is like one of not very many departments, at least at the time, this was many years ago, that has this systems approach to thinking about individuals and their interaction in society and with life. And the way that you could think about it, which is an interesting approach to psychology, which typically would say that you have your brain and there's things going on in your brain. And to get you to act right, we need to like probe and unlock and uncover and figure out the traumas and like rewire things inside of your head. But a dynamic systems approach is in many ways a lot simpler. And you could think of people as particles, if you will, in a system. And oftentimes the system itself has constraints, forces that cause a particle to go a certain way. And what you could do to better society, for example, which would be the approach of a dynamic systems psychology approach, is that look at the system and assume that people are like outcomes from the system and figure out what things you could change in the system, as opposed to telling the individual, go to therapy, pull yourself up by your bootstraps, which can work for some people, but it really can't work for many, right? You think about the, you know, that thing that has all the little metal marbles and there's like pegs and it follows the distribution. You know what I'm talking about? It's like a toy and the thing, and it always follows a normal distribution. And it's like all of these particles always end up in this way because of this system in here. There's roadblocks here, 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 and here. On average, you're going to end up with a distribution like that looks like this. And you could really think of trends and outcomes in society in the same way. The reason that you're seeing these is because there's something wrong with the system, right? You think about, this is just what's coming to mind. You think about the fact that like Black women have a much higher risk of negative health outcomes when it comes to giving birth, to childbirth. That is a consistent trend that seems to be exclusive to this group. Something is going wrong in the system. I don't know what it is. I haven't done like deep research into that, but this is a good example of like something is going wrong in that system. If you are trying to like, you know, get something corrected, whatever it is, like you're in a bad relationship, you're in this, you're in that, but you keep not having the outcome that you want, like there's something in that system that you could probably try and take a step back from and change. And then, right, like if you're trying to correct your diet, maybe you shouldn't have like ice cream at your house, right? And that's how you can adjust your system. And then that can kind of aid you in the outcomes that you want. And I thought that was just like a novel approach to psychology.
Like that's what kind of blew my mind, because I would always beat myself up as like an ambitious person that is also chronically unimpressed with my last accomplishment. It would be like, well, damn, I'm just not motivated enough, right? Like the reason I didn't achieve this goal is because I didn't wake up as motivated as I need to wake up. And like the Atomic Habits framework suggests that that's completely erroneous, right? Like you just were an inadequate, you engineered the system inadequately. And like that was just such a mind-blowing concept to me. Like, dang, wait a minute, I just didn't create the right way to make it easy for myself. And like that's such a crazy way of thinking about it, but literally it changed my relationship with exercise and business and all these other things.
100%, man. And I think that there's probably a tendency that it sounds like you have, I know I have it, to really take radical ownership over the things that you can control.
Yeah.
And it's something that over time, I think it becomes evident that you can make a big impact in your life. And maybe it's just looking at a body of work where you've been able to move things in the direction that you want, that you start to accept that more. Because there is absolutely things that we cannot control that are external forces that screw us over, right? The system, like, sometimes you can't change the system.
Right.
I can't change the dynamics of the United States. How can I do that? How could I possibly do that myself? There are ways that we can affect society or whatever, because we do always say, oh yeah, well, society tells you this and society tells you that. But it's like, who is society made up of? It's literally made up of us. I am 1/300 millionth of American society, at least by person. I don't think everybody has the same amount of power, right? But there are things that, like, you have like so much agency in your life. Yeah. And I think that a part of, when you mention building the public speaking skills and like kind of attacking that head on, it's sort of like if you just show yourself that you can get these small wins and overcome things step by step, then you start to believe that you can.
Right, and your sphere of influence starts to grow. But like just being able to identify, like when I get depressed, I start running, specifically because, like a lot of times as an entrepreneur, you're trying to do something and there's all these outside forces. I can't sell these things because nobody wants to buy it, right? Or like I can't make this opportunity because I didn't get accepted into the program. They denied my application, right? Yeah. But I can say I'm running this mile and then resist the internal voices and finish the mile, right? And then I can do that a little bit more the next day, right? And I think that creates a kind of trend, right? Like a consistent patterning yourself of like, okay, like I'm, one, doing what I say I'm gonna do. You're keeping your promise to yourself. But two, you are controlling that sphere. Like you're exercising control. Yeah. And that's when I think it really starts to grow. It never is like the size of planet Earth, right? But like there are certain things that we can control and we can exert control over them.
For sure. Yeah, right? And I mean, you start a business and you start employing people. Like there's like a little chunk where you can make it like a material difference, right, in people's lives. You could have your organization run the way that you want. 100%, man. I totally agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah. So I know we actually, this is one of the first episodes where we've had like a little bit of a live audience that's here with us. And I know maybe they had a few questions for us, stuff that they might want to throw at the wall.
Did anybody ever ask you about your booty? That has been on my brain. Like you called yourself like.
What dat booty do, right?
What dat booty do? Did anyone ever say like what your booty do? Did that ever get thrown back?
I've received a few DMs wondering what my booty does, and I don't respond to them.
Okay.
Can now that you have the floor?
Well, I don't know if I have the floor.
I mean, the floor is yours.
Is there a follow-up question?
No, just responding to the DMs.
Well, no, I don't. Yeah, I don't. I see them, and I've received them on LinkedIn. I've received them on a few platforms. Foot pics. I don't know if you get this kind of stuff too.
Yeah, I think that I personally, I don't get foot pics, and I don't.
Like
well, first of all, hold up. I don't open up pictures that get sent to me in DMs.
No, not receiving foot pics, but like requests for your foot pics.
Pictures of my feet?
Yeah, people be like, "Hey man, let me see those feet, bro." You don't get that?
No, man.
I got like a couple of those.
But I will say this. I always throughout my life had heard women talk about the just grotesque and out of pocket messages that random men would send them online. And it wasn't until I started making content that I was like, oh my God, this is what they're talking about. Because me personally, I don't do that, right? Like I don't send weird messages to girls in their DM or, you know what I'm saying? I just don't do that. That's like a bit strange to me. But the things that guys started sending to me in my DMs, I was like, oh, some men are like, there's something wrong with men, perhaps.
Yeah, it's. I think there's like and again, this is also as someone that doesn't actually do this, but I think that there's like a shock factor that like gets like that they're into, where it's like I'm sending this thing that I know is gonna like shock this person, or like I think maybe that's there's a name for it.
Talking about like a flasher.
Yeah, but that I don't feel like that's a specific name. But yeah,
I'll
we
just
can
think of
look
it
at
as like extreme weirdo behavior.
I mean, I would also categorize it as such.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Any other thoughts here from our live audience?
He gave a really long thought out like uh, descriptor as to like his upcoming into the field.
Mhm.
So I feel like I want to hear you expand a little bit more on yours.
Is there anything specific that you think, like maybe I didn't?
I guess maybe once it was more into like the higher schooling, like the masters and like going into
Oh, I can talk a lot about that. So
those programs.
yeah, so I almost was Dr. Shaifer. I was in a doctoral program at Columbia University in New York. So it was a science education program. It would have been a PhD in science education, and like I would have been in a program that I both got my master's and my doctorate from. And at the time, I was like an entrepreneur running around New York City. I had this program called the Magic Cool Bus, which was like our STEM bus that was like traveling and reaching kids. And I actually got Mad Mike from Pimp My Ride, if you all remember the TV show Pimp My Ride. Like he's like now a friend of mine. He agreed to actually build our Magic Cool Bus. And I called him. I remember I called his office 14 times because he was never there. It's Galpin Auto or whatever in LA. And the 14th time he was there, picked up the phone, and he was like, absolutely, I'm in. I heard you've been calling me. Absolutely. Right. And then I ended up meeting him and all that kind of stuff. And then I was making a cartoon called Hood Science, where it was like educating people. I like hand animated it myself. I was like a year in. I had good grades in the program. And this is before COVID. This is 2018, 2019 is when I enrolled at Columbia. And, I was just starting to take off. Like I was flying, speaking, training teachers on STEM education, activities that I was doing that were working well for students. And the professors were like critiquing me for like not showing up in person. Literally the year before COVID, when everyone was on Zoom, I was coming in via Zoom and being ridiculed for it, right? And I understand where they were coming from. This is a traditional institution. They want me to respect that. But then there was another camp of professors that were like, what you're doing is the future of STEM education. And I was kind of like in this conflicted state, and then the funder of my scholarship, I think he spent less money on the university, and I got lost like some of my scholarship going into the next semester. Frantically searched for more funding, and then like never got an opportunity to have my school funded. And I was like, well, I'm not gonna pay to be a grad student if I'm already, because people were asking me like, what do you want to do? It's like actually what I'm doing right now, just like at a higher level. And so I was like, I'm not gonna just like I'm not just gonna sit around. Like this was a very hard decision as a black man at Columbia University doctoral program. People are like, drop out of Columbia. You can't do that, right? Like you're a black man. Like this might work for like Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg. And so I was like, well, I think I have something here, right? And so I dropped out. I formally went on leave as a student in 2019. Then 2020 was my most successful year up to that point. Doubled that 2021. Doubled it again in 2022. And, I just kept having successful years after that. And I completely bet on myself. And I'm a black male Ivy League dropout that was featured in the Forbes list now,
Congratulations.
Well, no, I mean, it's not even like I guess.
No, I wasn't I was being serious.
Yeah, no, but I'm just saying, like, it's like the narrative is cool, but I feel like there's so much that there's so much doubt, that internal doubt that you have to overcome.
100%.
To like I was so conflicted. Like I can like recount this story and make it sound like, man, I just had a crystal clear vision and I just saw it all the way through. Yeah. And it was like so much harder to make these decisions in this time period. But it was listening to my intuition, man, which I think we're not trained to do as scientists often. I think physicists maybe more sometimes, when you really like Einstein, I'd say was a little bit more intuitive. When he loaded things into his mind, he would start to like piece together.
I don't know. I think he understood. He must have had like some intuition.
I think he like over time
understood things so well.
Yeah, I think he developed an intuition by loading his brain with a lot of this information. At least that's my take, right? But I think a lot of times we're taught like this critical analysis and like so these things that didn't feel right, like going to like staying in grad school or like doing like research for me, right? I just like it felt wrong and I couldn't get myself. I'm a motivated person, but I literally physically couldn't get myself to do these things. I'm like, okay, like that's resistance, and that doesn't feel like the type of resistance I'm used to overcoming. That feels like this is the wrong path. And so like listening to that intuition has become an invaluable skill that I think is really hard to cultivate in a lot of academic spaces and in science, you know?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I think that that's another way to look at it is that there aren't like wrong decisions.
Yeah.
The decisions are hard and you always want to make the right one, but you can always like make the best out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think we're getting pretty close to wrapping things up. I don't know if you had any final thoughts, questions. If not, we can share a couple more things.
Yeah. Have you guys ever felt like you needed to like be a certain way, like in your respective fields to like fit in?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that, going to some of the institutions I've gone to, they taught me that in order to be perceived as competent, I had to show up a certain way, right? Pronounce things a certain way, dress a certain way, wear my hair a certain way. And I recognized for a long time, I feel like I'm really good at playing the game. Like, if I can understand the rules of the game, I don't have to actually agree with the rules, but I will play by those rules and win, right? But at a certain point, like, and I'll make sacrifices along the way, thinking about winning, not thinking about who is Justin, right? And I think in your professional journey, especially as a black person of color, really regardless of your background, there's a certain point where you're like performing a version of yourself professionally, and it's not until your credentials stack to a certain point that they speak for themselves, like whether that be like a PhD in an advanced science field, or maybe you like started a bunch of businesses, or you like worked on a lot of other different projects. Like once you get a certain level of, I think, security in your career, that's when it's actually more liberating to others for you to be actually just a real human being.
We do talk a lot about being authentic and being yourself, but you also have to accept the reality that people are going to like judge you, and the way that you are presented is going to be meaningful, and you just have to like decide how important that is to you. Right. So for me, I think I've gotten comfortable with who I am, and stacking the qualifications doesn't matter. Like I could sit here and list my qualifications. I'm gonna make a video tomorrow and somebody is gonna like degrade me or try to say that I don't know what I'm talking about, or that I'm not professional, or that I'm watering down the field of astrophysics, or like I've heard it all. And there is no real arrival where that doesn't happen. And I think that as a person of color, as a woman, you're going to face that, period. There's like no ifs, ands, or buts, especially if you're in science. It's just like, how much are you going to let that mean to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Word. Yeah, man. I mean, look, what I'm getting from this is that, we're driven to make an impact in the world. And I think other people could do it too. Like, I don't think either of us, like, while we have unique origin stories, we have unique lore, right? I don't think either of us is particularly like amazing in terms of like being an outlier individual that like no one else could do what we've done, right? We just decided and stuck to our guns that this is what we're gonna do, and we showed up the next day, and the next day.
I feel like if anything, that's where we're outliers. It's like, yeah. But
that,
anybody
that
can
feels,
do that. I feel like everybody has that.
That feels teachable to me.
100%. 100%.
So y'all stay curious, get out there and learn stuff. Anyone can be anything, and everyone can be curious, y'all. Stay curious. This is Curiosity Theory.
Nice. Is that our sign off now?
I'm just riffing here.